We've worked together for years. We know exactly what we want to do. It's a little bit in a way like changing a tire on a Formula One car. Everybody around that car has a job to do. And unless everybody's delivering their job accordingly, it won't happen. And it's no different in an operating theatre.
So I imagine before you were the sort of the leader in the room, you must have observed and learned from a lot of really great people, as you just mentioned.
Mm.
I mean, what was the jump like from going from, just, not the person that everyone's looking at,
Mm.
but, part of the team, and now you're the person that everyone looks at. Was there a moment when you realized, oh my God, everyone's looking at me like, I am everything, the buck stops with me here?
Um, it's very interesting because when you're a junior doctor, you see different styles of consultant.
Mm.
And some people do want a godlike status. Some are loud and brash and want to be the virtuoso. And some are quiet and unassuming and get on with it. Actually, sometimes in a stressful situation, people shout and swear, and that's how they cope with stress. But actually, in my experience, that doesn't generally get you very far
Mm.
because people freeze when people start shouting. And in an emergency, you need to act quickly and decisively. So it's by watching lots of different people that you hone your own leadership style.
Interesting. And obviously in the world now of information and technology
Mm.
everywhere, I mean, I'm imagining there's been some great breakthroughs with the education and the training of,
Mhm.
of new surgeons. What is it that's impressed you most, particularly around technology in the last sort of couple of decades?
Simulation surgery has become a big part of it now. So just if you're training an airline pilot, they'd go into a simulator before they ever got into a cockpit. Now we do a lot of simulation training. So you can actually practice operations, you can practice tying knots. Increasingly, we're doing keyhole surgery, and you can actually now do a lot of it in a simulator. And there's evidence that that shows if you have a trainee who's spent time in a simulator, they will actually have fewer complications when they're operating.
How does that work? Is that like the VR goggles or,
There are different ones. There are VR goggles, or you can actually literally have boxes where with a camera, and you look at a monitor, and if you can imagine that it's almost like the ultimate computer game. You're using your hands to hold an instrument, and you look at a screen, and you have to tie a knot on the screen without actually looking down.
wow. So do you have some really good transferable skills? Are you really good at knitting or like sewing?
Well, I used to knit years and years ago and haven't done it for ages. But I noticed Tom Daley, the Olympic diver, is a big knitter.
Right.
And I'm not sure. I think if I started knitting at the moment, I really would be in my dotage. But you never know. I
I
might
love
do it in the
that.
future.
Let's get Tom Daly on the show. We'll have a knit off with Tom and Ellis.
That sounds like that. Now, if that doesn't pull in a few viewers, I don't know what will.
Absolutely. But you are, I mean, you are a pilot, right? I mean, you've done.
I did have a pilot's license, and I don't have. I've lost my license for medical reasons. And again, I think if you're a pilot, the discipline that comes from that, and a lot of those skills now have actually moved over into the operating theatre. So we
Mm.
now have checklists. We have safety checks.
Wait, you didn't have checklists before?
No, we didn't.
What?
So you might say, isn't that crazy? But there is now, for example, there are very famous examples where surgeons have taken out the wrong kidney or amputated the wrong leg. And you might say, well, how could that happen? And there'd be a student nurse in the room, and she said, well, I thought you were making a mistake, but I'm obviously far too junior. I knew it wasn't me. And she was right and everybody else was wrong. So before we start an operating list now, we have a thing called a WHO, World Health Organization checklist. Everybody introduces themselves to everybody so we know who the team is. We discuss all the operations we're going to do. We discuss any particular problems, and we discuss any particular instruments that we may need. And that's before we even get to the first patient. Now, this is a great way because it just gets a bit of discipline and organization, and it reduces the chance of a surgical error.
Taking out the wrong kidney.
Yeah.
God, that's an awkward one. How do you even break that news to a patient? I mean, surely there's blame and a claim in that regard. That's crazy.
Well, unfortunately, there is. And one of the interests I've developed is medical negligence.
Mm.
So I'm now doing some work for lawyers to assist their clients. So if a patient is suing because of negligence, a doctor like me, who's called a medical expert, who's had legal training, is asked to look at it. And I'll give you an example of today. I was working on a report today. A woman was diagnosed with an ovarian cyst, and she was listed for an operation. And when she came into for operation, she tested positive for COVID. Not her fault. So the operation was cancelled, understandably. She had to wait another 5 months. And then she came in for her operation. And when they did the operation, they opened her up and there was no ovarian cyst present. The cyst had disappeared in the time that she was waiting for surgery. So this woman underwent an unnecessary operation. Now, you and I might say, well, why on earth didn't the doctor do a quick ultrasound scan before doing the operation to see if the cyst was still present? Why indeed? So she had an unnecessary operation, and unfortunately after the operation she had bleeding and she had to go back to theatre for another operation to stop the bleeding. And the sadness was she never needed the operation in the first place.
Oh, good Lord.
So that is an avoidable medical error. So by getting processes and checking each other, it goes back to what I was saying. Doctors are not robots. They can make mistakes. And anything we can do to check each other to reduce the chance of an error is obviously very good for patient safety.
Well, I love it because now that you've, I mean, how many years have you been in the field?
I've been working over 35 years as a gynecologist.
Do you know how many operations you've done? Do you keep like a little board at home, a little like tick on it?
Do you know, it's one of my sadnesses. I've never done it. And the thing that I'm even more sad about is I've never kept a log of all my deliveries, but I've estimated I've delivered more than 3,000 babies in my career.
Wow.
And I've had a few babies named Ellis as well after me, which is very gratifying.
Really?
Yeah.
What? That's crazy.
But actually, the funny thing was there was one lady who was lovely, and she said to me, you've been so nice, could I name the baby after you? And I said, of course. And then she said, I know you introduced yourself when you came in, but in the stress of everything, I've forgotten your name. What's your name? And I said, oh, my name's Ellis. And she said, what's your first name? I said, that is my first name. And then she said, would you mind if we didn't name a baby after you?
I love that.